Hey guys, welcome to Greenshine Farmers. So you can see today, got a blustery spring day, and since we can't get much farm work done, we decided to do a video on how to find farmland. So we're going to go into resources you can use to find farmland. We're going to go into things that you should look for in that land, and we're also going to go into negotiating a lease.
Welcome to Greenshine Farmers video blog about a family starting a farm and going back to the homestead lifestyle.
Episode 23, How to Find Land to Farm.
Alright, so some of the resources you can use when trying to find farmland would be, first you can look into land trusts, which are basically just conservation lands that they are not going to use for development. They do have some restrictions, but you might be able to get a good deal. You'd have to look through your city and see what's available. Another option, a good option for people that are new to farming, would be to find an incubator program in which they basically, it's usually a state-run program, and they have farmland available for beginning farmers who are just starting to start their farm to lease for usually very cheap, and they usually have equipment. Sometimes they have washing facilities, cold storage, and that's just a good way to get your feet wet. Another option would be to just talk to local farmers in your area. Just talk to people, get to know people in the community, because there's always land that's coming up, and that you check the classifieds. But I would just talk to other farmers, talk to people in your community, and that's usually a good way too. Now the way we did it was through a website called FarmLink, and it's a great website. They have it for pretty much every state, so you just find your state's version of FarmLink, and you can just go online and you can find people who have land that they would like to be farmed, and it gives you their contact info, a little bit about the land, and we're going to go a little bit into that now so you can actually see how to use that website. So this is the North Carolina FarmLink website. Every state has its own FarmLink. You can just go to Google FarmLink and then whatever your state is. So, this allows landowners to post their land, and it allows farm seekers to find that land. So just go to Farmland Seekers, go to Find Land, and here it's going to show you all the farms / land that are available. Some of them are lease to own, lease, some are just straight sales, some are partnerships, so there's all kinds of stuff in here. So you can just kind of search your region for where you're thinking. For us, we are in the West, so quite a few farms out here in Western North Carolina, pretty big farming community, and you can just kind of go through and, whatever you're looking for. So we can just click on this one, and it kind of, so this is an internship / mentorship. It kind of will show you all the equipment that is on site, what they're currently producing, how many acres, and et cetera, et cetera. If you want to contact them, you're going to need to create a login, a profile, which doesn't really take long at all, and then you can reach out either via phone or email and sort of get the ball rolling. So a very important consideration when choosing your farmland is the water source. It needs to have some source for water, otherwise you're not going to be able to grow anything. You're going to be entirely dependent on rainfall, and droughts happen. So you want to have some source for water. Now city water is great because it's convenient, it's already chlorinated, so it's safe to use, and typically there'll already be a water. So if there's already a spigot somewhere that has either city water or well water, that's probably your best choice. The second best would probably be some sort of creek or river, as long as the water's clean, and what that just entails an extra step. So for us, we have to filter this water, and then we have to sterilize this water with calcium hypochlorite, which is basically the same thing as the city does, but it's just an extra step. And we had to invest a lot in the pump, in the piping, in the all the infrastructure to make that solution possible. So ideally, if you already have a well with good pressure and just a deep well, that's probably your ideal scenario. But if not, you can get creative like we did. Okay, another thing to take into account is the topography of the land. Ideally, you want pretty flat land, but a slight slope isn't a bad thing because that will allow water to kind of drain away. What you don't want is an area where it just kind of sinks in and you're just going to have a wetland. You know, with this land, it's pretty good. It's got a nice slope. However, everything kind of drains right here. So these are the last beds, and we have yet to really prep these. They've really been just neglected, and it's kind of a handful. You can see, I mean, it's just a thick mud, clay. What we're actually going to do is dig a ditch here, and we'll put in a French drain, and that will help a lot of this to clear away. But this is going to be a true test of our farming prowess, I guess you could say. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work to get this soil to where we can actually grow stuff, to where it will drain properly, and you know, just to make it usable. So it's just something to think in mind. You know, walk the land after a heavy rainfall and see if there's anywhere where water is pooling up, because that's definitely something to take into consideration. So one thing to look for in land is, does it have any outbuildings on it? So take, for instance, this old tobacco barn. It's been absolutely, you know, key to have this. I mean, we can keep all of our tools, all of our any supplies, anything just dry and out of the weather. We also have our rabbits under there, where they're protected from the wind and any, you know, rain or snow, but they still get sunlight. We've got our chickens on the back end. So I mean, just an old barn like this, or any old sheds or anything like that, you know, if there's a livable structure on it, even better. If there's greenhouses, fantastic. But you know, that just, it played a key role in our decision to choose this spot, was having an old big tobacco barn like this to use. All right, so in addition to the barn, another outbuilding we have is this structure behind us, and that it's an old general store from the 1890s. And even though it has no insulation, it had no running water, it had no outlets or anything for electricity, we were still able to utilize it as a livable structure in the summertime. Now obviously in the winter we had to invest in a travel trailer, which has worked out nice, but I mean, just anything like this, any sort of structure that you can put to use is extremely valuable. So if you're leasing land, you really don't want to pour a lot of money into any type of permanent structures, because the future's uncertain. So what we did was, I mean, both these structures behind me, this is our washing station, which we'll be doing a video on really soon. We just got it. It came entirely as it is, basically just on a big truck. And if we need to, we can move it at a future date. Same with the walk-in cooler. You know, that's just basically panels and panels as the floor as well. So all this is movable, and they're totally necessary. You have to have some place to cool your produce, and you have to have some place to wash your produce. Originally we just had a carport tent, and with the winds we get here, it just wasn't really a good solution. Plus, you know, if it was hot in the tent. If it was cold in the tent. So, you know, investing in a good solid place to wash and package your produce is absolutely critical. So if your property doesn't have a livable structure on it, another option would be to just get a travel trailer. I mean, typically they, you know, a lot of places offer financing, and it's a good solution that you can also take with you. It's got, you know, everything you need inside, from kitchen to shower to sleeping areas to a bathroom. And so that's just a great solution if, for whatever reason, the piece of land you find doesn't have anywhere for you to live on it. So another really important thing to consider is sun exposure. So for our land, and what really drew us to this piece of land, was it's pretty flat, it's some nice bottom land, and the sun exposure is fantastic. If you look, the sun's going to come up right over there, and kind of just, you know, all day we're getting really good sun exposure, and it's setting over there. And that's super important. You know, if you're in a narrow valley with tall trees, you're not going to get very good at sun exposure, and you're not going to get really good growth as a result of that. So, you know, ideally you want it to be nice and open like this, especially if you live in a mountainous region. This allows it that even in the winter time, when the sun is lower in the sky, you're still getting a decent amount of daylight hours. So sunlight is a key consideration when choosing your piece of land.
A great tool when looking for land that I found was Google Earth. If you download the version to your computer, it's free. They have a bunch of great tools that you can use to kind of investigate the land. So I'm going to do a search for the property that we ended up with, and it'll zoom us in. So the tools that I use are right here. This one's called Show Sunlight Across Landscape with a slider, and the other one is Show Historical Imagery. So let's go into our property a little bit more right here. There it is. And then I'm going to use this time, and I have it set for today. So if you look, we can see the time moving here. So let's get it to, there's midnight, and then you can just keep scrolling, and then you can see sun's coming up, moving across the time. This is around 4 in the afternoon, and then the sun's coming down. This is set for March, as you see up here. If you want to change the date so you can see multiple seasons of that land, what the sun looks like, you can click this button right here and go ahead and type that in right there. Another thing you want to keep in mind, let's bring it back to the daytime, is this is an image. They take a picture and move on. So when they happened to take the picture, there's all these shadows. Those shadows will change. So you got to keep that in mind. If you see shadows, that the shadows are going to change with that time as well. But generally, you could see that our property gets a lot of good light. Another button you could use is this show historical imagery button. And what that will do is you could then go in and put in any date or time of year, again, in this, and you can see what the property was like before you even used it.
Okay, now when negotiating the lease, you're going to want to sit down with the landowners and hash out all the details. You're going to want to be as specific as possible as to what the lease includes, what you can use from the land, what you can't use. You're also going to want to talk to other farmers in your area and find out what the going rate for land is. Around here, it's around $50 an acre per month. Obviously, if there's outbuildings and whatnot, it might increase that value, but just sit down with the landowners. You know, make sure you get both of your full legal names. If the landowners are married, they both need to be on there. Make sure everybody signs it. You know, the contract can be as complex or as basic as you feel comfortable with. It's not a bad idea to get an attorney and a notary to kind of go over it and make it official, file it with the county court. And when you're negotiating the price, say it's $400 a month and you have to put $1,200 into repairs, into just infrastructure improvements. It's not a bad idea to see if the landowners will be willing to let you amateurize that and basically make it $300 a month instead of $400, so that, you know, you're not paying for all of the expense out of pocket and you're improving the land, and you know, so it kind of works out for both parties. But I think the best strategy is just to sit down with the landlords and just see where you can offer them value. They obviously want their land farmed, otherwise it wouldn't be up on a site like FarmLink. So, you know, just be open and communicative, and, you know, best of luck. If you guys like this video and you'd like to see more like it, leave us a comment down below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also, visit us at greenshinefarms.com and follow us on Instagram at Greenshine Farms. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.